Welcome to week 7. In this week, I will be introducing you to a concept called Internet of Things. Of course, I will be discussing about what is Internet of Things, giving you some examples. Then we will be taking 2 examples. One is a small home automation system where we will switch on and off a light through SMS control, and in this week we will also show you through a touch sensor how we can sense some kind of alerts if an unwanted people touches your screen. Okay? So, these are the 2 things, 2 examples that we will look into this particular week, and in this lecture particularly I will introduce you to the buzzword, you can say, Internet of Things. Okay. So, the concepts that will be covered in this week is what is Internet of Things, how we relate IoT and embedded systems, and we have taken a case study of an object tracking. Okay? So, coming to what is Internet of Things. Internet of Things is the network of physical objects, like it could be any device, it could be a human being or a vehicle, or it could be a building embedded with electronics, software, sensors and network connectivity. And what it enables the object to collect and exchange data. Let me give you an example. In week 5, we discussed about temperature sensing module, right? So, what we were doing in that example, there was a sensor, that is LM35, from where we were sensing some physical parameter, that is temperature, and we were displaying it in the LCD. Okay? This is what we were doing. That is an embedded system application which is a standalone system. It has got a communication capability, but we were not transmitting the data that we received from the sensor to any other server or any other database, right. So, we were not storing the temperature anywhere, we were just displaying it in the LCD. But let us say a scenario where I gathered that temperature from the sensor through microcontroller and I pass that information or store that information of the sensor in some database. Okay, how we can do that? If we want to save that into a database which is online, we need to have some communication capability as well, along with the processing capability that it has got. It has got the processing capability earlier, but now for sending the data or storing the data in some server or in some database, we need a communication capability as well. Okay? So, whenever an embedded system not only has got the processing capability, but also has the communication capability, it becomes an Internet of Things. That means that temperature sensing unit is not standalone anymore, that it is not restricted to this particular place where you are displaying the temperature only. I can also anywhere, if somebody wants to know the temperature of this particular room, you can get it through the mechanism I told you. Okay? So, it enables the object to collect and as well as exchange data. So, you will have the processing capability and you must have the communication capability as well. Okay? So, there is a wide variety of application that we have, one of which is smart city, another is in healthcare. Object tracking is one of the very major application where nowadays people are using this the small modules to track any object. We will look into that, we will take that as a case study further. Surveillance and security. In surveillance and security, if you see, this IoT has got a very good application, and for security I will be taking one example with touch sensor, but it has got many other applications also in security, if security is concerned. And of course, it is not limited just by imagination, it is there is a huge set of application that whatever you can think of now, you can actually do it using this embedded system, when the embedded system also has got a communication capability, we call it as an IoT. Okay? So, let me tell you this IoT and embedded system. I have already told you the relation between the two. So, IoT constitutes the larger picture. Of course, it is not only one embedded system, it is a collection of many embedded systems which can communicate among each other as well. So, there are billions of things that generate data and communicate among each other. It generates data in the form of these sensors. This generates a lot of data, and where this data will go? The data will be saved somewhere for further processing maybe, or if it is not required, it could be you can delete those data. I mean, there are so much data that gets generated, it's not very easy to also store that huge amount of data. Of course, you need to have that architecture in place to save the data properly. But in some cases, if the data, the sensors are generating some unnecessary data which need not have to kept for for all the period, then you can simply delete those data. Each IoT node is essentially an embedded system, I have already told you, and this IoT revolution has given this embedded system a new lease of life. Embedded system was not new, but this buzzword IoT is there for quite some time. Let us say last 5 years we are hearing about this IoT. So, this IoT revolution has given this embedded system, the old embedded system, a new lease of life, you can say. Some typical applications leading to embedded system design could be smart home, object tracking, smart transportation. And of course, if you combine many of the aspects of various IoTs, then it leads to a broader picture. We call it smart city and ultimately to smart world. Now, we will consider a case study where we will consider an object tracking module as a case study of IoT. So, firstly I will talk about what exactly we are trying to say when we say we track an object. Okay. I could be an object, my bag could be an object. Let us say I am sending something from one place to another, let us say a medicine, that could be also an object. Okay. My children going outside for playing, I want to track them as well, they can also be an object. Okay. So, or a cow which has gone to some field for having grasses, it can also be an object. Okay. So, there are other applications which will be similar, but in this we will see the basic building blocks that would make up the system and are the same in most of the applications. So, the final implementation is essentially an embedded system problem. If you think of the overall system of object tracking, so the whole system, first of all you have to build an embedded system, and then of course it has got a communication capability, and how you want to make it, there are various kinds of ways through which you can make it. So, we in the first step, what we use a suitable microcontroller and interface with the required sensors or actuators to build up a system. That is very straightforward, we have seen, because we need a processing capability. So, we need a suitable microcontroller for the processing thing. So, and also we need some sensors or actuators to build up the entire system. For many IoT applications, the cost can be a major issue. Now, all these things we have already discussed in the previous weeks, that cost depends on how many number of units you are actually generating. If you are really generating a very small amount of unit, then the cost might be large. But if the same kind of product is designed for a large number of units, you are producing it in a bulk, then the cost always reduces. So, the choice of the subsystem may be dictated by cost issues. So, it depends, like for how many units you are producing, or which community wants that device, how will you market it such that the importance of the device goes to the huge customers. If the customer wants to buy, I mean, if you want your product to be sold to a huge customer, then you have to also do some kind of marketing strategies, right? So, what kind of things you should do to sell your product in a more efficient way? There are lot many things that are involved, but cost is also an important factor. People always goes for something. So, if the same product, if somebody gets in a lower cost, of course they will go for it. Okay, so there is a trade-off in that sense. Now, let me come to the introduction to object tracking. Firstly, what is object tracking? So, it is a mechanism by which we can locate any object in real time. Meaning, let us say my kid has went out for playing. At any point of the time, I wanted to know where my kid is playing, whether he is inside the playground or he has moved out to some other place in real time. So, in this process, we can have some kind of application, maybe as a web application or it's an app in your mobile phone. It should able to tell me that what is the current location of my child. So, what is required to be done? I will tell you one by one, but this is where I need this object tracker for. Okay? An object can be any conceivable thing that changes its location over time. It could be a vehicle, like it could be my bicycle, my car, or a bus, or a truck, or an airplane. Or it could be a human being. As I said, it could be a small kid, or it could be your old parents. So, it could be any human being. Or an animal, it could be a cow, your dog, some wildlife, etc. Or it could be some things like my bag, okay. And it could be anything, right, that where you want that to be tracked, okay. So, it could be a bag, it could be your stuffs, maybe you have kept a huge amount of pots outside your place where you, if you want to track that whoever is, somebody is stealing out your pot, then you can attach that device with that pot as well, and you can know that where that pot is at a particular time, okay. In real time you can track that. So, why do we need object tracking? I think I have already motivated you, like why do we need object tracking, but let me give you some more examples where you will see that the object tracking along with just tracking the object may not make sense. We also need some more other sensors to be attached to the object to receive some more data, okay. Let us say for the first example is delivery of medicine. Let us say it is required to deliver some medicine under some required environmental condition. you know, medicines are really, it needs certain temperature. If you want to keep the medicine in a very hot place, it might get damaged. So, you need to keep the temperature, keep the medicine within some suitable temperature. Okay. So, in that case, what could be done? So, what is generally done if you want to send a medicine from, let us say, place A to place B, we hand over the medicine to some delivery agent. Along with the medicine, we attach some device that will sense the temperature, humidity and other relevant information, let us say, along with its location as well. So, it is not only sending the location that where this medicine is going through, I mean how the delivery is taking place from, let us say it started from position A, then it moves to position A1, A2, A3 and finally before reaching B, it crosses many other locations also. So, that of course you can track. Apart from that, I also wanted to know what is the current temperature during that time. Okay. What is, there are some other parameters, let us say what is the humidity amount, humidity in that environment, etc. So, the information from the various sensors shall be uploaded to a server periodically through some suitable communication mechanism. The mechanism could be GPRS or SMS. We will look into these things, how we can do this in course of time. But so, what is required? I have my device in place which tracks the location. Along with that, I have some sensors attached to it. So, the device will sense the location. It will also sense the physical parameters like temperature, humidity, etc. and it will upload both the location along with these other parameters into some database. Okay? And that how we can do it? We can do of course through SMS. Through SMS it will be sent to some other mobile number. But if you want to send it through to internet, then you have to use the GPRS service. Okay? So, this is how it basically works. So, the concerned person can track the consignment in real time. Of course, if all the data is uploaded time to time, let us say every 5 minutes we are uploading, the device is sending the data to a server, then the concerned person can easily track the consignment in real time and may also have access to historical data because we are storing it in a database. So, you can also find out, let us say I am checking right at this moment, but what happened to 1 hour before, what was the temperature, etc. that also we can see because we have stored everything in the database, right. Let us say example 2, tracking of living beings. Okay. So, the mechanism is very similar as I have discussed for medicine, it will be same here, only the sensors that are required shall vary from one situation to the next. So, here tracking children when they are playing outside, I have told you, tracking wildlife to gain information about their lifestyle. We can also get some information about the lifestyle. I mean, there could be many other information like some more devices could be attached, how much time they are moving. Okay. A particular animal, whether he is moving in a day for how long. So, you should have some kind of device, let us say an accelerometer, we will look into that in course of time. So, what is an accelerometer, we will see that. So, that kind of device you can put in to find out the activities that a particular animal is performing in a day, let us say. We can always track our pets and any cattle or any pets in that way. So, what is the requirement for building an object tracker? So, I have given you the motivation that this is an example object tracking system. Okay. But how should we build it? You can build it very easily, but there are certain requirements. So, you need to have some devices that will track the location. that will also receive some data if it is required, like some sensor data, and we can upload it. So, let us see what all devices are required. For the processing, a microcontroller is required for carrying out some local processing and interface with the various sensors and the communication subsystem, right. So, the location has to be received. So, there must be a code written in that microcontroller that will receive the location. Let us say I want to track it every 5 minutes. I do not want to track for the full time, so 5 minutes. So, you can write the code accordingly. So, every 5 minutes it will read from the sensor the data and it will upload to the server. So, we need a microcontroller on a first step. So, you see this is for processing we need a microcontroller in a first go. Then for the communication capability you will need a GSM module. Okay. We will discuss about this in course of time. And for location sensing we need a GPS module, global positioning system. Okay. And for parameter sensing you need various sensors, like let us say temperature sensor or humidity sensor or pressure sensor. So, these are the 4 things that are required basically for this object tracking, to build the object tracking. Okay. So, this is the overall diagram if you see. So, this is my microcontroller, this is my microcontroller, this is the GPS module which will be connected with the microcontroller, which will sense the coordinate. There might be some sensors that are also attached which will be read by this microcontroller, and as I said, every 5 minutes these data will be sent through this microcontroller to using a GSM module to some server. Okay. So, this is basically the overall system, where along with processing capability we already did, we have different sensors to read the data and it will get stored here. But here we also have some communication capability through this GSM module. That is what we are sending the data to some server. Okay. So, whatever data is there in the server at this point of time, that will give us the location, the current location, and if you want to see the past location as well, you always can see that. So, this is the microcontroller I have already discussed. So, I am not discussing in detail about this. The GPS module, there are various GPS modules that are available. This is one example GPS module, that is Holux GR87 GPS module. You can use any other GPS module that is available. And the GSM module, so in this course we have used this SIM900A GSM module, okay, which I will be discussing in detail. So, very briefly if I talk about, it is basically used for communication with the remote location, and it uses the same technology as used by the mobile phone. So, whatever we use in the mobile phone, you can see there is a SIM slot here. You see there is a SIM slot here. You can put a SIM in this place, and this is the chip of the SIM900A. Okay. So, this is one development board. You can see this particular chip in any development board. Here is the SIM slot where you will put the SIM, and of course, you have this VCC, ground and other pins to be connected along with your transmission and receiver. So, you also have these two pins, that is transmission and receiver. So, these are the things that are there. So, example, this is SIM900A, the same module we have also used for our experimentation. which supports standard AT command. Okay. So, we have to use standard AT command for communication with this GSM module. It is a tri-band GSM GPRS engine that works on these three frequencies, that is 900 megahertz, 1800 megahertz and 1900 megahertz. And you can have variety of sensors for integrating along with it. So, for communication, other methods like we can use Bluetooth, radio communication or near field communication, etc. So, we have come to the end of this lecture where I have given you like what is an IoT. I have also given you an idea of how an simple IoT system could be built along with its processing capability, along with other sensor data, and I have discussed in detail about one of the application, that is object tracking. We have seen that the building the whole system is fairly very straightforward, but it has got such a variety of application. It could be used in so many places. Okay? Thank you.